Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the third ever Abney Park podcast. Sorry, it's been a while since the last one. I've been cramming to get that novel done, Forsaken Valley. Hopefully I'll get into talking a bit about that novel, which comes out next Saturday. If you're listening to this when I released it, next Saturday that novel comes out, and we'll be shipping right away. Just gorgeous book. I hope you really enjoy it. All right, without further ado, let's jump into the content here. Further ado? What is an ado? All right, the first song we're going to focus on today is Survival of the Species. Take a listen for a second and then we'll get into it. Survival of the Species is an interesting concept that I was working on. I think when I first started writing this song, it was about dogs, but not like the pets that we have in our home, but specifically the old wolf ancestors that lived side by side with humans back in the early days. My family are dog owners, big dog owners. When I grew up, it was all Black Labs and German Shepherds. Now it's all Black Labs and German Shepherds. And if you've ever had a German Shepherd specifically before, and probably other dog breeds that I'm not as familiar with, you know, these dogs know that they are protectors. They are guardians of the home. They are only happy when they are guarding their home. That's when they are content, and they are always ready to do their job. Now, the history of mankind's relationship with dogs talks about dogs starting to gather around humans because humans would have leftover food that the dogs could share, and in exchange, the dogs became these protectors of the human families, and they helped keep the humans alive. So this symbiotic relationship ended up helping mankind to evolve. We evolved as a species, we survived as a species because of the strength and vigor and occasional violence of this species of animals. Well, fast forward thousands of years into the current future, and humans are now afraid of these dogs. Lots of people don't want there to be this kind of dog around. They want dogs to be small and mild, not the warriors they were bred to be, not the warriors that allowed mankind to evolve, but they want the only dogs that exists, if they want dogs to exist at all, to be those little ornamental lap dog things. They want them to be small and cute and not scary, which to me seems like this tragic loss. We are now punishing dogs like German Shepherds and Dobermans for being the strong, powerful thing that originally allowed mankind to evolve to the place where we are now the dominant species on the planet. If it wasn't for the strength of those animals, we would not be here today. And that actually got me thinking about, men. About the strength of men and the way that we are built. See, when I was a little boy, I remember I have two older sisters and a mother, and they are these very strong, intelligent, well-educated people. And one of the things I remember my oldest sister telling me was, okay, if you're listening to this, make a fist with one hand and look at the bottom of your fist. If you're a man, the part of your fist where you would pound on something will be thick and padded so you can pound with your fist. Meanwhile, if you're a woman, it's flat and hard, and if you pounded on something, it would hurt you more than it would hurt the thing you were pounding on. Anyway, this is what they told me when I was a little boy, and the story was meant to illustrate that men were made for violence. That our bodies were designed specifically for defending our families, hunting for our families, building structures, that kind of stuff. The extra size that we on average have, and the extra muscle that we on average have, the extra testosterone that creates aggression, was all built so that we could help the species survive with these traits. And now here in the future, just like with those old primitive dogs, those same traits are no longer valued and often no longer needed Few men still hunt for their food, for all the food for their family. Few men build their own homes. It's as if those very traits that kept the species going are now obsolete. And more than obsolete, actually, those traits are socially unacceptable. They are shunned. Now, I'm not going to speculate as to whether or not that change in society is right or wrong. You can make your own opinions on that. But I do think that it is very interesting that the same traits that allowed our species to survive are now no longer acceptable. Okay, the second song that we're going to be talking about is On the Fringe. This song is sort of a daydream that I put together for myself to console myself. In the daydream, you can hear this story of this post-apocalyptic world. It's actually the story that my novel series is set in. Interesting as that novel series starts to form, I've started now on the 6th book, the book after Forsaken Valley, which comes out next Saturday. And I'm starting to realize that what this novel series is it's 2 novels that sort of set up the world, and then it's a whole bunch of one-off novels that are in that world that share some of those characters and settings and creatures and species and types of peoples. All of the novels are standalone novels that sort of share this same world, as opposed to if it was one grand saga that you had to read in order. With this, you can pretty much pick up any of the novels and just be in this world and exploring this world. Well, in the song On the Fringe, it's describing this small band going into this sort of shanty town bar and setting up their gear and playing this little concert for, the last of the ragged survivors of man. They wait for a night of abandon while I tune this bazooka on my knee, my bazooki. Every so often I'm emotionally hard on myself that my music never got as big as, say, Sting and his $900 million fortune, or Michael Jackson or Prince or any of the other artists that I always revered. I've definitely written enough songs. I feel I've written good enough songs, but lyrically, stylistically, the crowds that we always appealed to were always on the fringe. Never the mainstream. We were a fringe band, and therefore have lived a fringe life and never become big mainstream artist. And I watch these new artists come out and immediately go up to the top, and I listen to what their songs are about, and they're about making out on the dance floor, or being in love in high school, or a dozen other topics that a million other songs have already covered. And I think to myself, well, perhaps I'm happier being on the fringe. At least in the end, I feel like what I've done has had some integrity. Not to say that all those artists haven't done things with integrity, but integrity for me, I guess, means being on the fringe.
Living on the ragged edge, picking my way through the aftermath of humanity brings to the edge. They changed all the laws around us and built themselves into the mold. They filled up their prison with guys like me, guys who don't have it all. I'm happier fighting my life than dying alone in my rage. Don't matter if you live in prison or chained to a desk all day. If you don't have the freedom to get up and go, you're a slave to someone's dossier. I load my dusty equipment into this dusty old bar. We set up our rusty old keyboards and I tune this rusty guitar. In walk the ragged survivors, in walk the last of the free. Wait for a night of abandon, and I tune my bazooka on my knee. Somewhere someone's got it easy, somewhere someone's got it all. We'll play for you folk at the edge of the world till the last of the world finally falls.
hired gun is sort of a double concept. So lyrically, I've got this metaphor of this cowboy, riding off, hired by some sort of a posse, and this cowboy's a hired gun, and he doesn't care about the war that's being fought. He doesn't care about the people who's fighting with. He's just in it for himself. He's just in it for the money. Now, this is a metaphor, obviously, because it's me writing it. But basically, we hire a lot of different people for the band, and musicians, guitar players, bass players, violin players, brass players, and not all of them are really into what we're doing. They are in it for a paycheck. They show up, they play the parts, but they might, absolutely hate steampunk culture. They might not even like the music, but of course it's their job to keep that a secret.
He's a hired gun, makes his money and runs.
Well, this attitude wears on you year after year, and after a while, you kind of got to move on from these guys. Even if they do a great job, constantly being swimming in people that don't like what you're doing can get kind of old. So anyway, that's the lyrical concept. That's what the song's about. Now, musically, I had just watched, one of Tarantino's new westerns. And I thought I wanted to write a cowboy song about a hired gun that sounded like it could be the soundtrack to a Tarantino western. So that's what we were doing with the music, and boy, the whole band got really excited about it. And people were suddenly bringing in Tijuana brass and percussion and slide guitars, and I really think it came out great. Interesting side note, all the guitar in this was actually played by me on a 4-string tenor guitar. And I also played the harmonica in this. And I think I did the whistling in this, and there's some accordion way off in the background that you might be able to hear. But yeah, we just had a blast with it.
For your revolution, he's only here for gold, and he'll take his pay on any day from any army in the fold. He didn't come cause he loves your company, didn't come cause he shared your views, didn't come from a common vision, he's not following your views. He won't stick to you through thick and thin, he doesn't have your back. And if the funds run short, that bastard won't take any flack. If you think that you can trust him, if you think you can win the war, try mentioning that there's no pay, and soon he'll be out the door. He's a hired gun, makes his money and runs. This war's not his scene, he's just a killing machine. He's a hired gun, takes his money and runs. This war's not his scene, he's just a killing machine. He'll only do what he finds easiest to still get paid. And if someone is bleeding tired, they won't get in his way. He won't lift a hand to help you, not until he can see the cash. He don't care if you go and win or lose, if it won't affect his stash. If you can get paid fighting for your cause, not sticking to your side, he'll take your gear, throw it on his horse and sell it to the other side. He doesn't care if your family's starved, doesn't care if your family's died. If he sees a buck to make, there'll be a sparkle in his eye. He's a hired gun, makes his money and runs. This war's not his scene, he's just a killing machine. He's a hired gun, takes his money and runs. This war's not his scene, he's just a killing machine.
All right, so the next song that I want to look into is Caravan of the Pious. This is the newest song that we've done in one of these podcasts. This is, at the time of recording this podcast, this was the last album we put out. Hopefully that won't be the last album ever. Anyway, this is what this song is about. At the time I was writing this, I was picturing this line of camels being pulled through the desert, and tied to these camels being drug along or chained and struggling through the crimson desert sands were slaves. And the lyrics talk about these slaves being bred for a life of servitude. But when I was writing the song, and I think even when I listen now, I'm never quite sure that it's separating the difference between the camels and the slaves that are chained to them, that how they were both bred for a life of servitude. And in the song, they're being shipped off to war. You could tell that this line of slaves will eventually be fighting a war for some foreign power, the camels and the men. Now, here's where the topic came from. When my kids were young and we were first putting them in public school, my mother, who was a retired anthropologist and college professor, was telling me about why I think I was complaining that the schools started so early in the morning and then the kids went all day before they could come home. It didn't seem fair to me. I certainly hated it in my childhood. And my mom told me that what the school's real job was, what they were really doing, was they were training a population of worker drones, of training people to work all day, every day. That a society like ours needed a vast army of humans to do all of these menial tasks. And so schools weren't necessarily training us to have a good life. They were training us to be slaves. Of course, this rattled me to the bone, and we immediately pulled our kids out of public school and started raising them ourselves so that we were raising them to have a good life, not raising them to be employees for life, slaves for life. And in fact, as in the song, many societies, including our own, have also had drafts where we have taken the children that were bred from birth to be slaves and forced them to fight in foreign wars. We're told those wars are being fought to protect our country. To some extent they might be, but quite often they're fought for political reasons we don't understand or don't care about, don't benefit or protect us at all.
You have been groomed. You were groomed your life. You were groomed your life. You were groomed your life to be a slave. You were groomed your life. You were groomed your life. You were groomed your life to be a slave. In wagon trains, as they once did. Together, they'll brave the wastelands. Tommy drives the big semi and Hayden is co-pilot.
All right, so this next song we're going to do is The Children's Caravan. This is actually a kid's song. I don't know if there's any kids out there that listen to it, though. The way I picture the song is it sort of unfolds like a children's picture book. It's talking about all the different kids living in this post-apocalyptic wagon train. So if you've read the novel series, well, this episode might just be all about things from the novel series. You know that one of the races of mankind are the Neo-Bedouins. And they're this tribal, nomadic people that live in these big multi-storied caravans that they drive around the wastelands pulled by big semi-cabs. Now, the Neo-Bedouin are really good people, and one of the parts of their culture is if they ever find children that have been abandoned, maybe their parents are killed, they just instantly adopt them without thinking about it and take them into the fold. Which got me thinking, what would have happened if the parents that ran the caravan disappeared somehow, eaten by the monsters in the fields? The children would have to take over being in charge of the caravan, and then how would life change? What is it that kids with a huge caravan of house trucks would do driving around the wasteland? And it was a very fun fantasy. I'd still love to do an illustrated kids book of it. Maybe I'll get to that one day. Anyway, that's pretty much what this song is about. It's a fantasy about what would happen if kids had this post-apocalyptic caravan, and what would the kids enjoy doing, and what would each of the kids' jobs be. It's a daydream, like a lot of my songs. All right, here's the full thing. Enjoy.
In wagon trains, as they once did. Together, they'll brave the wastelands. Tommy drives the big semi and Hayden is co-pilot. Jenny runs the turret guns, but Tino wants to try it. Cynthia lost her marbles in the floral van, but all the children feel at home in the children's caravan. Finnegan drives the big house truck, he's driving one in metals. Buck Finn ties a woodblock to his feet to reach the pedals. Jackson has a glider, he's a flying lookout man. He notify of danger near the kids in the children's caravan. Occasionally they'll come across some dark green swimming pool, so the caravan must stop to practice swimming school. Heading for a water park to swim all day's their plan. Life seems pretty wonderful in a children's caravan. In a children's caravan. In a children's caravan. In a children's caravan.
All right, that is our podcast for today. I hope we ended on a positive note. We definitely crossed some dark waters while handling some of the topics of today. But I think that we got into a good place at the end of it. I hope you enjoyed it. Please give it some interaction, give it a like, or make a comment is even the better thing for me, so that I know that you guys are listening, that I know that you guys are enjoying these. They take me a while to put together, so I only want to do them if you like them. Okay, that's our show. Love you guys very much. Hope to see you at the next concert next Saturday. And I'll see you on the next podcast.